screech of tires tore through the autumn air like a blade. The world narrowed to a blinding flash of headlights and roaring metal. Just a moment ago, Ilara was floating in the weightlessness of her dreams. Architectural shapes, lines, light. Today was her first day at her cherished institute, against her parents' insistence on boring law school. Her path lay among sketches and blueprints, not statutes and precedents. And now, at this moment of triumph over the mundane, lost in her inner world, she stepped into the path of the car. The sports car door burst open with a slam, and a figure leapt out onto the asphalt. The young man's face was as white as chalk, his eyes flashing with fury. "Trying to get yourself killed?" A hoarse exhale broke the silence. "What were you doing stepping in front of a car?" Ilara's lips trembled. Instead of an answer, tears streamed down, unwelcome, burning. She stood on the brink of terror and relief. The young man looked at her with confusion, but when the tears turned into uncontrollable sobs, his face softened. He stepped towards her, grabbing her elbow roughly. "All right, stop the hysterics. Get in. All I needed was for you to get hit by the next truck." His tone brooked no argument. Obeying some unknown force, Ilara slumped into the seat, smelling expensive leather and an unfamiliar cologne. He started the engine, a smirk playing on his lips. "Address?" She gave him the street name and spent the rest of the ride discreetly studying his profile. Light hair, sharp features, striking brown eyes. Suddenly, a thought pierced her. She was in a stranger's car. I don't usually get into cars with strangers," she mumbled in front of her building, justifying herself to herself. "Yeah, I can see that," he chuckled. "I'm Ethan. And you?" "Ilara." "Ilara. As a fine for jaywalking and payment for saving your reckless life, give me your number." "Why?" "Because I'll call. Maybe give you a lecture on traffic laws. Or maybe ask you out for coffee." Her heart skipped a beat. She nodded, dialing the numbers. This arrogant, handsome guy. He seemed like an adventure straight out of a magazine cover. Ethan was the son of the influential Arthur, the city's police chief. In his world, pretty airheads like Ilara were just collector's items. He had noticed her on the road, lost, charming, and decided to teach her a lesson and add her to his collection. The sharp braking was for show, a dramatic entrance. Having her number and address, he felt like a winner. Ilara, however, was on cloud 9. Her younger brother, Leo, just 15, immediately sensed a change. "Ilara, you're totally crushing, aren't you?" He squinted slyly. "You're glowing. Get lost, nerd. I'm 18, I have the right." Ilara brushed him off, drowning in anticipation. She had no time for geometry. Ethan was waiting for her. He was the perfect gentleman. Bouquets of red roses, dinners at places Ilara had only dreamed of. She was drowning in him, blinded by her first, all-consuming infatuation. It didn't matter where they were, only who she was with. Ethan confidently played his game, the goal of which was simple and cynical. A month of waiting felt like an eternity. It was time for the main event. He booked a luxurious hotel suite. Ilara was nervous, but she believed. This was love, and everything would be right. They were in the car, heading to the hotel. Ilara mechanically pressed the glove compartment button, not looking for anything, just like that. And she saw them. Tiny, transparent baggies, lurking in the darkness. "What is that?" she gasped, unable to believe her eyes. Ethan's face instantly turned to stone. He slammed the lid shut. "Nothing. There are things you don't need to know." "Ethan, wait!" Her hand touched his wrist, cold with fear. Are those drugs? Do you use?" He laughed, a harsh, joyless sound. "Naive. These are just almost vitamins, and I don't use them." "Then why do you have them?" Ethan's eyes narrowed. "And that, sunshine, is none of your business." He reached for the ignition key, but his phone in his pocket exploded with a ringtone. Seeing the number, he tensed up. "Quiet! Not a word!" he hissed, pressing the phone to his ear. His voice changed, low, sharp. Words came in clipped fragments. Drop. Order. Debt. Last time. Same spot. All right, wait there. He snapped into the phone and hung up. He winked at Ilara as if nothing had happened. Just a quick job, and then the hotel. He was a different person now, not the prince from her dreams, but a predator, calculated and ruthless. He turned into a narrow alley, stopping by an abandoned park. He reached into the glove compartment, pulling out several baggies. Ilara watched as he hid them under a worn-out bench, under a stone near the children's sandbox. Terror gripped her. He wasn't using, he was selling death. Her heart beat like a wild bird in her chest. She flung open the door and scrambled out, away from him, from that car, from this terrible truth. He caught up to her in a few strides, grabbing her arm in an iron grip. You! She choked out, breathless with a mix of horror and rage. Don't you dare touch me! Let go! Ethan looked at her with genuine confusion. Ilara, what's wrong? Everything was fine. Fine? You're selling death. How can that be fine? In the same instant, his face contorted. The smile vanished. Only a bestial rage remained. His fingers squeezed her arm so hard her vision blurred. He pulled her towards him. You think money grows on trees? The car, the restaurants, the hotel? You think Daddy pays for all of it? I earn it myself. But how? It doesn't matter how. There are idiots willing to pay. Why should I refuse? If they don't buy from me, they'll buy from someone else. Ilara reeled back as if from a leper. Miraculously breaking free from his grip, she ran without looking back, without knowing where she was going. Run, you fool! He yelled after her, getting back into his car. The next day, she didn't go to the institute. She lay curled up in a ball and cried. How could she have been so wrong? Fall in love with emptiness, with lies, without seeing the monster behind the mask. After lunch, the phone rang. Her mother's voice was full of despair. Ilara, Leo. They took him from school, to the hospital, ICU. He tried something with some friends. Ilara's world collapsed for the second time in 2 days. Her own pain receded before a wave of icy terror. She rushed to the hospital. Her parents were already there, pale, lost. The doctor spoke of prohibited substances, of how he tried it just to fit in, of how they had to hope. Where do they even get this stuff? Her father clenched his fists. There was no answer. A few days later, Leo was better. He was discharged. One evening, Ilara decided, Leo, did you know who sold it to you? Her brother looked away. Not personally. I told the cops I didn't know. But I saw him. He hangs around the school a lot. In this silver car. Ilara's heart tightened. Him! Her voice was barely a whisper. She handed him her phone with a photo of them together, happy, smiling. Leo stared at the picture, then at his sister. It is! Ilara, was that your boyfriend? He was, Ilara bit out. All her pain suddenly turned into burning rage. Bastard! Scum! I'll make him rot! I'll put him in jail! Ilara, be careful! Leo grabbed her arm, his eyes full of worry. You understand. He's not alone. Don't get involved. You're telling me to forget? Ilara jumped up. So he can keep poisoning people like you? Did you like lying there? No, never again. Leo shuddered. But, seriously, sis, don't get involved. But Ilara had already made up her mind. There was no question of love anymore. Only hatred and a thirst for justice remained. The next day, he called. As if nothing had happened, he suggested they meet. You rat! Ilara screamed into the phone, unable to hold back. My brother almost died because of you. I'm going to the police tomorrow. His tone instantly changed. Threats poured out, cold, calculated. But Ilara hung up. In the morning, instead of going to class, she headed to the police station. The officer on duty listened with an indifferent expression, making a call somewhere. The chief will see you personally, he announced, and Ilara felt a slight confusion mixed with hope. The door to the chief's office bore a nameplate with the same last name as Ethan. Arthur, son, father, a coincidence? Or, behind the desk sat a tall man with dark eyes and light hair, living proof of their relation. This is even better. Let the father see what kind of monster he raised. Trembling with nervous tension, Ilara spilled everything out. The baggies in the glove box, the drops, his confession, the threats, Leo's illness. Arthur listened in silence without batting an eye. Rage boiled inside him, but not at his son. His son had been a lost cause long ago. He himself covered this business, supplying Ethan with batches to sell. His rage was directed at this girl. How dare she? Come here complaining about his son. She thinks he'll destroy his own son. A plan formed instantly. So you claim you saw prohibited substances? His voice was icy. And you? Were you distributing? Using? He fixed her with a penetrating gaze. What? No! Never! Ilara gasped, stunned. It was Ethan, your son. You have to stop him. So you want to shift the blame onto my son? What blame? You're distributing this garbage. Confess. Where do you get it? Who do you sell it to? Where do you hide it? His words lashed out like whips. Ilara couldn't believe it. They were accusing her? This was absurd. Arthur called in some officers, and, miraculously, a small baggie was found in Ilara's jacket pocket. A blood test, done right there, showed traces. It's a lie! You planted it! She screamed, but no one listened. They dragged her to a holding cell. The world turned into a surreal nightmare. A search of the house. Fines. The parents' shock. Leo insisted it was a mistake, but the facts were against her. The case was stitched up quickly and ruthlessly. So you won't confess? Arthur asked, leaning over her in the interrogation room. You're only making it worse for yourself. I have nothing to confess. Ilara cut him off, lifting her head proudly. Your son is a criminal, and I am a witness. You can do whatever you want, but in court, I will tell everything. Court, you say? The corner of the chief's lips curled into a predatory smile. Believe me, I'll find a way to shut you up, and you yourself will beg to sign whatever they put in front of you. I thought you were a smart girl. I was wrong. I'll have to teach you a lesson about life. It was late evening. The station was deserted. Arthur took the key to another cell, the one holding 3 men, 2 of whom were hardened repeat offenders. Where are you going, Chief Arthur? The officer on duty cried out, seeing the chief dragging Ilara towards that cell. But there are... those men? All the better, he growled. Mind your own business. He shoved Ilara inside, slammed the door shut, and handcuffed her hand to a pipe. All right, listen up. He addressed the inmates. You have until morning. Explain to her. You need to think before you speak, and don't slander respectable people. Give her a good roughing up, boys, and I'll reclassify your charges. Got it, Chief. It will be done. The 2 men guffawed, approaching her with grins. Panic swept over Ilara. She screamed, she cried, jerking desperately, but the handcuffs held firm. Hey! Step away from the girl! A third voice suddenly called out, low, gravelly. Are you completely hyenas? Can't you see? She's just a kid. The 2 men turned around. Ilara saw him. In the corner on the bunk sat a massive man with a thick beard and unkempt hair, rough-looking but with a penetrating gaze. Back off! Snapped one of the thugs. If you don't want to, stay out. We'll have our fun. The man lunged from his spot. 2 steps and he was there. Blows. Fast. Precise. Both thugs crumpled to the floor, whimpering. What are you doing, brother? They stammered, trying to get up. We were just doing what the chief asked. He promised to change our charges. You'll answer for what you did. Zachary, that was the name of her saviour, stood between Ilara and the fallen men. I won't let you harm this girl. If you try anything, I'll break your necks. The repeat offenders, muttering curses, crawled back onto their bunks. They didn't want to mess with this giant. Zachary pulled up the only stool, sat Ilara on it, and himself crouched beside her. Tell me, kid, why did they do this to you? He asked softly. Ilara told him everything. Blind with rage, Chief Arthur didn't know that he had put his victim in a cell with a man who had nothing to lose and a strong sense of justice. Zachary listened, shaking his head. He also told her a little about himself, a former paratrooper, discharged due to injury. He came back. His wife cheated with a friend. Broken, drinking, he lost his apartment to crooked realtors. He ended up here because he stood up for a taxi driver who was being beaten by two thugs. He put them in the hospital, and those guys turned out to have influential relatives. Now he was facing time. "But you're not guilty," Elara exclaimed. "I am," Zachary chuckled. "I put them away for a long time. Years of service weren't wasted. And the taxi driver disappeared. Scared him off, probably. You need to think about yourself. This chief, if he's come after you like this, he'll break you." "I don't know what to do," Elara cried again, but not from despair, but from helplessness in the face of this monstrous injustice. In the morning, Chief Arthur looked into the cell. "So, boys, everything in order?" He winked at the repeat offenders. They nodded, feigning eagerness under the watchful eye of a grim Zachary. The same day, Elara was moved to the detention centre. "Learned your lesson?" Chief Arthur whispered as they led her past. "Now think. Either you just go to jail, or you won't last a week." No one knows how her fate would have unfolded, if not for the relentless energy of her parents and loyal friends on the outside. One of the police officers, shaken by what was happening, risked whispering the truth to Elara's parents. The chief was involved. There was no one to rely on. They would have to act themselves. Paul and Natalie, after consulting with Leo, made a decision. Catch Ethan red-handed. Through social media, they found a photo of Elara with Ethan, found out his name, where he studied. They developed a plan. Leo, through acquaintances, contacted Ethan, posing as a buyer. Ethan passed on information about the drop spot. Paul followed Ethan from the institute, recording his every step, every move on video. Lila, Elara's best friend, also helped. Upon learning what happened, she was furious. They found a criminal, a show. She met with Elara's parents. "I'll help too," Lila declared. "I'll meet this Ethan. I'll get him talking. He'll tell me everything himself." "Lila, it's dangerous," Natalie pleaded. "He's involved in terrible things." Lila nodded, pretending to agree, but that same evening she found Ethan on social media. She arranged a meeting. Lila knew how to charm. She easily started a conversation about prohibited substances, feigning curiosity. Ethan, arrogant and careless, didn't suspect a thing. He offered to try it out when she had the money. "Aren't you afraid to trust people so easily?" Lila asked innocently. Ethan laughed. "I have nothing to fear. My protection is the police chief himself. Do you know who my dad is?" Lila feigned fear, while secretly recording his every word on a voice recorder. She gave this recording to Elara's parents. Now Paul and Natalie had irrefutable proof. But how could they use it in a city where the very person who should punish them held the power? There was only one solution: the capital city's authorities. They braced themselves for a long battle, wading through red tape. But, to their surprise, they were seen almost immediately. They didn't know that Arthur had been under surveillance for a long time. They just lacked concrete evidence. And now, his own son, boasting, had provided it. The parents hadn't even returned home when large-scale inspections began at the city police headquarters. Chief Arthur was arrested. Soon after, Ethan was also arrested. Following that, an entire network was exposed. They were all tried, given substantial sentences, sent to places where the sun rarely shines. Elara was released almost immediately after the investigation into her accusers began. Her parents met her at the gates of the detention centre. "Elara," Paul hugged her tightly. "I never thought you'd get mixed up in something like this." "Well, Leo, maybe. But you, what about me?" Elara smiled through her tears. "I stood for the truth." "We managed to get justice," Natalie breathed out. "Mom, Dad, I love you both so much." "Thank you." "Not just us," Paul listed. How worried Leo was. And Lila. How lucky I am to have you." "My dearest ones," Elara whispered, clinging to them. One thought bothered her. How was Zachary, who saved her that terrible night? It turned out he was doing well. He was acquitted in court. An old comrade found him on the outside, helped him get back on his feet. Zachary no longer drinks. He has a new life, a family. One day, Elara ran into him by chance at a supermarket. He was working there as a security guard. "Well, my friend," Zachary winked, recognizing her. "Still searching for truth in this life?" "I will," Elara replied firmly. "I transferred to law school." "Looks like it hit home." Zachary whistled, then smiled. "Good for you." Yes, it hit home. Deeply. Now she knew what she would become. What she had to become. A lawyer. To protect those they tried to break. Studying became her main goal. And love? Love could wait. It wasn't time.